Welcome back to About Time. I'm Stephen and I've been a Doctor Who fan since 2005. Normally I'm joined by my boyfriend Ben, but today I'm joined by, well, they're the couple with the Daleks in their front room. They're the hosts of the Fast Return podcast, and they are also two of the nicest people, not just in the Doctor Who fandom, but that you might ever meet. Oh. And they are Séan and Ethan. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
What an amazing introduction. Hi.
How are you both?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, we've had quite a manic week, which you've been a part of, seeing Gallifrey Cabaret and
indeed
all that excitement and fun, and watching Slitheen like slut drop onto a stage. It felt like a bit of a fever dream. I felt like I'm going to wake up from it. But yeah, it's been very good. And then Docky Who yesterday.
Yes.
Great.
It feels weird that Doctor Who's back on. It's sort of crept up on us a bit.
It has. Because it's earlier this year than last year. That's what's messed up with my head.
Yes.
When did it start last year? Was it May or April?
It was May, yeah. A few weeks later, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a relatively shorter wait, isn't it, this time around?
Yeah,
and I definitely feel that, but I quite like the earlier start.
I mean, I like it watching Doctor Who when it's dark, but it's nice to have it earlier in the year, for sure.
Yeah, it's been strange. So last year, obviously, the midnight drops, and then this year, the 8 a.m. drops. Are you guys waiting till the broadcast for each episode?
Yeah, because neither really suits us, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, staying up till midnight,
I say
no
like
thanks.
When it's dark, but I'm not talking about midnight. I'm talking about
yeah,
8 o'clock.
Getting up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind because you can just get up when you're ready on a Saturday and then just have a chilled start to the day.
Yeah,
that's what I did watching the episode.
Yeah,
just put it on when it suits you on the Saturday morning, like
exactly. Yeah.
So you'll do that. You won't do the broadcasts.
Probably, yeah. I don't think I can stay offline and not be spoiled. So
that's the only hard part, isn't it? And I kept opening apps because it's really bad how much of it is like a muscle memory. Like you're just on your phone, Twitter's open. I'm like, wow, I didn't even like tell my thumb to do that. And then you're like, no, I have to close this. I'm not allowed to go on it yet. And then the credits roll after the broadcast. You just jump back on your phone and you see everyone's reaction from like 11 hours ago.
Yeah.
That's what I found funny.
I mean, it's funny, like I sort of miss the whole event nature of it where everyone's in it together, like watching it at the same time, like debut at the same time, and it's like the evening and everyone's all excited about it, because now it feels a bit like you miss out if you don't immediately watch it. But for me, I like having like everyone gets settled down and we put the throws over the curtains and stuff, and it's like it's nice that it's like a bit more of an event thing, but also the immediacy of watching it as soon as it's available, that's very tempting as well.
I get that. I think the thing is, when it is, it's only on broadcast and everyone's watching it together, with social media these days, like people, I remember like in the sort of Jodie era and stuff, people would be live tweeting their reactions. And I'm like, if you're doing that, are you really like paying attention to the episode?
Yeah, I agree.
And it's sort of, so you can't do that now. So I think that helps a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
You just watch it in your own space and then,
Yeah. How many times have you seen the episode now?
So I've been quite bougie. I've watched it 3 times.
Wow. And how has it sat each time? Like, did it
I think
improve?
It's improved each time.
Okay,
yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. How about you guys?
We've seen it twice, and I think we differed a little bit. I loved it the first time around, and I loved it even more the second time around. But you felt it was...
Yeah, so I thought it was all happening at lightning speed the first time, and often I miss stuff that's said once or twice, and then it's like it goes over my head. Watched it the second time, and I found that some bits of it were really fast, and other bits of it were quite sort of slow, and where they took time to explain everything quite slowly. But I still think it's a fantastic episode. I didn't enjoy it less. It's just my opinion of it. I don't think it's all as blazing fast as I thought it was initially. I thought it was really good though, and for a season opener, it's not one of the ones that I was most excited for this series. And to say it was that good, I'm really happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same actually. I wasn't particularly excited about it. I thought, it just looks a bit, twee and a bit naff. But actually, it was actually quite a solid episode.
It's really nice being here on your podcast doing another premiere episode, another first episode of a series. It's really interesting because I feel like we were quite positive about Space Babies when we all chatted about it, but it's aged like milk. That episode,
it really has. It really has.
I don't know what it is about it, and like I do get the change of tide toward it more so now watching the Robot Revolution, because I think as a first episode, the journey it takes you on, it's got all the ingredients of a really good opener. And maybe I kind of forgot what that was when we watched Space Babies. Just happy to be in the RTD2 era. Maybe that clouded things a little bit, or
I think so, because I think, you know, it was Shooty's first kind of proper episode and we all really wanted to like it. And I think it was trying to look for all those positives and stuff, which there were positives, but yeah.
There was a huge overarching thing for me as well, watching Robot Revolution, where I think the first season faltered, where it was a premiere episode spread over a Christmas special and a first episode of a season. Like it just felt a little bit like it was floundering, but this episode was so tight, took you on all emotions. I just think it did it all so much better than the season 1 opener with the sort of 2 parts in this one part. It did it a lot better, I thought.
Yeah, even like the typical first new companion introductory stuff, like calling home and all that business with Ruby and in Space Babies, that all felt very like they were just revisiting the previous like successes of introducing like Rose and stuff for a new audience. And this one was functionally introducing a new companion, but the way that it did it was completely different and fresh. So it's more engaging both for like the new audience, whoever they are, and then like returning fans as well. Yeah,
completely. I think on that note, we really should dive into talking about Belinda, our new queen.
Yes.
How amazing is Belinda?
Oh, she is brilliant. And it's so funny because we watched Unleashed straight after. And, you know, to hear Russell talk about cherry picking Varada from the rushes of Boom. Can you imagine being cherry picked by Russell T Davies? And there's a lot of parallels between her and Martha. Even in the way that he cast her, you know, he saw Freema Agyeman in Army of Ghosts and cherry-picked her for Series 3 from that. And he's done the same thing here. And then even the character has a lot of parallels as well, which I find really interesting.
I like that it, in terms of what it does for her character, it serves her character a lot better, I feel, than the opening of The Church on Ruby Road and Space Babies, to be fair. Ruby sort of got 2 kind of first go episodes where you get introduced to parts of her character and like her background and stuff. This one, Belinda got 1 episode, and I feel like it served her so much better because it didn't, in terms of like everything that they managed to cram into it, it had the introductory stuff, which I would have liked to have seen more of like her work and more of her where she lives and stuff. But I get why it was passed over so quickly because it just needs to be, you know, but it really feels like 1 episode in and we already know like what her morals are and what her priorities are and what her kind of what she really wants to do, what she's passionate about. And that matters, that because now I'm really excited to go on this journey with her now and find out what happens to her. Do you know?
100%. One of my favourite bits was when she just leapt in to start helping with the medicine, even though she was in this alien environment. She was like, I recognise this, I can help. Yeah, it was really good.
She's a very confident companion, and she's not worried about pleasing the Doctor or just fawning over him or following him like a lost sheep. She very much is her own person, and because she like when she called the robots, she took that upon herself. She was sacrificing herself to save all of these people. And I just, there were certain character moments in this episode that really made me fall in love with Belinda straight away. It's a really solid start for that character. Really good.
Yeah. I do think it's been pointed out before, but like Belinda kind of is to Ruby what Martha was to Rose in that kind of that freshness of not necessarily taking everything the Doctor says at face value. And you remember that where she says, well, I'm called the nurse. That sort of sassy response. It was reminded me of Martha when he said he's the Doctor and she said, me too, if I ever passed my exams.
Yeah.
Had that sort of vibe as well.
Quite sarcastic and a little bit cynical sometimes. I like that.
Yes.
I think it's funny because it's walking a really fine line where she doesn't seem to be like annoying or irritating or like she really is miserable to be there. It's like it makes her engaging that she's different to prior companions, you know? So like you can tell that obviously in future episodes she might well start enjoying the ride a lot more, but it feels like she doesn't, like you say, follow the Doctor's lead. And when he starts to use his charm towards the end of the episode, it just goes over her head because she's so set on what she wants. And it feels like she's deliberately at odds with like progressing the plot along, and it makes her interesting. Do you know?
Yes.
Yeah. She's not fitting into the companion mold.
Yeah, it does feel like a breath of fresh air, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that felt a bit unsettling at the end when she said to the Doctor, you're dangerous. And he just has this big smile on his face and he's running around the console and he's ready to take her away around the universe. But she doesn't want to. She's seen, the dangerous side of of the Doctor and his life. I mean, she watched his companion of 6 months on the planet Belinda get vaporized after being promised the whole of time and space. You know, she's no different to that character. It's just, it felt a bit claustrophobic at the end when the Doctor was ready to pull that lever and take her away. And she was like, no, I don't want this. Like, I don't want it. It was kind of a bit unsettling, I thought.
But I really like her and I want her to start enjoying it. You know, it's like I can't wait to see her enjoying herself more because as a character, she's really interesting. So you sort of don't want her to be able to get home immediately, and then all that stuff happens to the TARDIS not working in that. But yeah,
definitely would like to see her start enjoying herself. But also, I love the fact that she is someone who's going to challenge the Doctor and not just accept everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially so what I thought as well was, you know, we can talk about the character of Alan in a second, but like obviously he's a controlling dick. But the Doctor kind of treats her quite similarly in the last scene where he's just like, you know, he does the DNA test without asking her permission and he just assumes what she wants and stuff without actually listening to what she's saying. And I thought that was really, you know, it's that sort of arrogance of the Doctor that he sometimes has. Like if you think of the Tennant era particularly.
Oh God, yeah.
He can get a bit carried away with his arrogance sometimes, and sometimes you just need a companion to actually take him down a notch or two.
Yeah, 100%.
There's the other moment, isn't there, when they're in the Undercity bit, and the Doctor's like telling her to shush, like she's like she's making too much of a fuss, and she just says, "Don't shush me," and it's a bit awkward, but it's like, well, yeah, because he can get. Like he gets very used to sort of throwing his weight around and commanding the situation, and she's not like that because she's used to being in control of her own situation, do you know? So yeah, and
it's also paralleled in the dynamic of her job, and it's mentioned a few times that at work there are doctors that throw their weight around, but they're watching the nurses do all the hard work, and she's finding that in her relationship with the Doctor as well. I just think it's really cleverly like set up, and the parallels that they draw.
I loved that scene at the beginning where you just like the montage of her going about her work. It was so like lightning fast, but like showed her to be so capable and in control of her role.
I feel that's really important because it's like you need to see how they operate in their normal day-to-day life to believe that they're actually like a real character, do you know? And I loved certain elements of Ruby Sunday's character, but I do feel like that's the thing we sort of missed, was seeing her going about her day-to-day life, because we didn't really get anything outside of what an ordinary, 20-something would do with her life. Do you know? Like she likes to go out with her friends, she likes to do this, she likes to do that. But to see Belinda like operating, like I'm at work, this is what I'm doing, you're showing that people look up to her and that she fits in really seamlessly with what's going on. And then you even get a glimpse of her student house and the people she lives with, and you get the impression that she's not particularly happy there. She's just there because it works for her. But yeah, she's not sort of flourishing in that situation. But at work, she does.
I really loved the reaction to that. I actually screenshotted a tweet from somebody called Alison, who says the flashback that was 17 years ago, finally representation for the house sharing millennial. Stop picking up 19-year-olds, Doctor. Find you a bitch who's 33. I loved that. It's brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, it's not a student house. They're having a house share.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it doesn't look like any student house I've ever seen.
No.
So. Yeah, this is a very surreal era for me because both Ncuti and Varada, I think, were both born in the same year as me and Ben. And it's like the Doctor and Companion are the same age as me. And it's like, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah. We had that moment when we were rewatching Series 5 and, Matt Smith's 27. That feels like a far away age from me being 27. Yes. It's like, oh my God.
But that's weird looking back, isn't it? Because when you were younger and he was older than you and you thought, oh, he's a proper adult. And then you look back on it from when now you're older than that and you look back and you think, God, imagine taking on that responsibility at that age.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it now as a 30-year-old. You just can't imagine.
How old are they? Ncuti and Varada.
So 32.
Oh right, okay.
I believe something around that. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And she's that age in canon, isn't she? Or is she supposed to be younger? I can't remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think she is about that age. Yeah, because 17 years ago, then she would have been 16 or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Which she pulled off very well.
She did, yeah. She absolutely did. Yeah.
I did think she's aged marvellously well to say that 17 years ago. But that's fair enough, it's a TV show, so
yeah.
What can you do?
I wanted your thoughts on something I picked up on our second watch, and this might be finding too many like tenuous links, but I felt like there was this overarching link to sort of the Wizard of Oz about this episode.
My ears have pricked up.
Yeah. So Belinda's housemate accidentally refers to her as Galinda when she's rooting through the fridge. And she's like, it's Belinda. And then I thought that there was a heavy use of green throughout the planet, like set design. And it evoked like Emerald City vibes. And then there's Alan posing as a grand, powerful presence, but really it's just a front for the man, and I wrote, or the incel behind the curtain. And even the mask felt symbolic.
Yes.
I don't know.
I can see what you mean. Especially that, the big wizard head thing.
Yeah. Taking control of this planet. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, not to burst your bubble, but I think when he called her, I think he just called her Linda. That's what I heard.
Oh, right. Okay.
But yeah, I thought Galinda would have been a bit of a stretch, but no, I definitely see what you mean about the, like, because I love that trope, the Wizard of Oz thing where you've got the fraud behind the curtain, because that's so relatable and relevant to life. It was relevant when it was first written about 100 years ago, and it's relevant now.
That's it. I just imagine Russell coming back from the cinema watching Wicked Part 1. He's like, write that into the script.
Oh, it's marvellous. Yes, must put that in Doctor Who. Yeah.
Your impressions were killing me. Oh my God. I feel like Russell needs to make another Galley Cab appearance through you.
He's just such a character,
He is.
Yeah.
For like a head writer, it's quite unusual, isn't it, that they become such a face of it, like a sort of celebrity of it.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day because both him and Moffat are quite strong characters, and Chibnall, like, he just seems like an ordinary bloke.
Yeah,
like very down to earth and like very normal. Not that the others aren't down to earth, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very interesting.
I'm waiting for your Moffat and Chibnall takes as well. Your impressions of them. I feel like
I don't think so. Let's think about Alan then, because he was awful.
So Alan.
I love how he's set up straight away from within the very first line of the episode. You're not going to like this character. The way he's like, I know girls aren't good at maths, but he said that within the first 2 seconds.
Jesus.
God, I missed that. I missed that completely.
He said it's like how many quadrillion miles away, and then he goes, I know girls aren't good at maths, but that's a really long way away.
Oh, I missed that. God. Yeah.
It's funny because to me anyway, the first time we watched it, obviously he was saying things that I thought were a bit weird, like later on and stuff with like the whole marriage kind of thing. But he's not written as like through and through, like his mannerisms and things. He's not like shouting at her or screaming at her or looking angry, but like that's so on the nose, because often it is the small things that people say that give them away, that give the way that they're not nice people or whatever. So for me to like have watched it twice and still missed that, but I picked up on things that I missed the first time around the second time we watched it, So and I know that a lot of the themes in it later on and things are quite heavy handed, but even at the start, I missed a lot of the stuff on the first watch that he says that's a little bit like, oh, maybe you shouldn't say that, because it's like it's closer to real people where it's not everything 100%. They do, but it's little things they do.
You sort of get swept up in the episode as well, and that's how you miss it, because they say little problematic things, but you sort of just get swept along in the plot, and then it becomes so relevant later. You're like, oh my God.
But I think that's really valuable actually to put in, a show that young people are going to be watching these days, because like you say, it's not the sort of black and white panto villain like, oh, he's so evil, but it's something that you are going to come across in life, and actually to realize that no, that's not okay to be like that is important. And also Belinda, the way she was having none of it, like when he was proposing to her and he was like, oh, maybe you shouldn't wear clothes that tight and no texting after 8 p.m, and she's like, sweetheart, no, and like puts the ring back at him. Like, she's a great role model as well for everyone. Like, you don't have to put up with that shit. Like,
yeah. She's a really strong female character, and it's so important. It's great. Yeah. So if you act like that towards women, you become a bit of sperm on the floor. They get swept up. So watch it.
I mean, what did we think about that ending of the character? Because I've seen a lot of people online talking about how actually it's quite, the Doctor's very gleeful about this person that just gets sucked up by a Roomba. And is it a bit out of character for him?
I mean, for me, it's like, I know that some people have mentioned it, like there's Cyberman parallels with the whole AI generator machine thing, and then he's inside it and he's all sort of wired up. But I suppose it's like, it's like a fate worse than death, really, isn't it? Like once you're wired up like that, I didn't see any conceivable way that would be able to get him out of there and save him.
That's true.
So
That's
it's like,
true. But he could at least have some regret that it went that way, maybe.
Yeah, it just feels a bit like he's like, oh, well, that's him gone, let's off.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Yeah, but I suppose it's like he becomes like a monster, doesn't he? So he's kind of like, he's kind of kissed his humanity goodbye by that point, I suppose, is what you would say.
Yeah.
I mean, I was quite surprised because what has happened to him, the idea of it's quite gruesome, but they've refrained from showing any sort of gore or any kind of blood or flesh and stuff. But like,
it felt quite adult to me. Like Doctor Who has taken it up a notch from last series. Yeah, I thought it was quite shocking, actually, that you just had the Doctor say he's a sperm and an egg on the floor, and then this Roomba just sweeps him up. It was quite dark humour, but it was well, quite funny.
The cat as well.
Oh, the cat.
Oh dear. I don't know how I feel about the cat.
Oh,
I'll be honest, it didn't bother me when I first watched it, but I have seen people online be quite upset by it, and I can understand that, like cruelty to animals sort of thing.
Making it into a joke.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, how many humans do you see get exterminated by things on Doctor Who all the time?
Yeah.
In fact, once when I was about 14, I made a Doctor Who fan film, and there was a Dalek invasion in that, and I got some footage of my cat running on our drive, and then we had like a stuffed toy cat that was the same colour, like, so he got exterminated and they sort of threw the stuffed cat.
Release it.
So, I don't still have it, sadly, otherwise I would. But
it made me laugh. On Twitter, I saved another tweet and it said, I kept looking for the no animals were harmed in the making of this episode disclaimer in the credits and couldn't find it. Did they actually vaporize a cat? Bless him. Yeah. It was a bit shocking, and it was funnier because the robots were not holding back. They put on an emoji of a cat face when they were talking about the fact they just killed the cat. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's funny though. It's got a bit of like not a nasty streak in it, but it's not afraid to do things that are a little bit like, oh my God, that just happened, which feels very different, especially when compared to something like Space Babies. Like, we're a long way away from like farting spaceships and stuff in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that Space Babies was so full of like, it was so good natured, where even the nasty, scary monster was actually a good guy in the end. But this is like, oh, this person's just died. Meet this lovely woman. Oh, she's dead. This is a cat. This is also dead. And it's like, it's dealt with like tough. Just move on from it now. Do you know?
Yeah.
So it feels different in that
Dark
way.
humor.
Yeah. And it's very like, for Belinda, it's a bit of she's being shaken into like, this is the world that you're stepping into now.
Yeah.
100%.
I guess that's why she's so unsettled at the end, because it's normal for you to witness all that and think, my God, this is a dangerous world. I don't know if I want to be
it's
part
the
of
reality
it.
she's going to face.
Yeah.
She travels to the doctor. Yeah.
Somehow hospital feels more safe because it makes sense to her. She's healing people, and this mad world isn't what she wants to be part of.
I think that's why, like Stephen said about it, when they go into the Undercity and she immediately starts trying to help people, because she's seeing something that she recognises and
makes sense,
locking onto that when everything else around her has just been so nuts and crazy.
Yes.
So should we talk a little bit about the robots themselves? Because they were fun, I think. So again, this isn't groundbreaking. I'm sure many people have said this already, but so they reminded me of the robots from Sarah Jane, The Empty Planet, and also the Smile bots from Peter Capaldi's era with the emojis, sort of drawing on some past references, maybe. But also, it's funny how the setup for the story is actually quite similar to that Sarah Jane story, with the whole, oh, you're our secret monarch that you never realised, and we're going to take you to space. Interesting.
Yeah, flipped on its head, kind of. I thought there was sort of the robots reminded me of King Hydroflax as well. These big bulking robots with like a funny voice.
It's funny because we've not humanoid robots more often than not in all modern Who. They're always like these very big, like bulky things. Like even Dinosaurs in the Spaceship as well, and like they're all of the same ilk, aren't they? Where they're these big, like hulking, heavy things. But I suppose it's so that they don't look like a man with like a robot suit on. Do you know, like a skinny robot suit? But they do seem to be a little bit to me like slow and bulky, and obviously they are good at shooting people. But I just they're a funny design. They feel, and they're obviously very 1950s inspired.
Yes,
and that was clearly like the driving thing for them, was that the whole visual style of like the city and the robots themselves, and even the rocket is so like 1950s pop culture sci-fi
Yes.
that people were drawing similarities to like Skaro. And even in the trailer, when we saw the clip of the city, I thought maybe it is Skaro added to with like the X-ray effect. But the reason I think why that is the case is because Skaro in the 60s borrowed a lot of things from like futurism, which Raymond Kuzik was referencing in like his concept art and stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
So I think in making this 1950s style, they've also borrowed a lot from retrofuturism and stuff, which makes it look similar to Skaro. But it's differentiated by all the like browns and the smoke and like you were saying, the green and the metal and all the bolts and things.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, the reference to that genre and that era. And I was thinking like they had to as well know what they were doing, especially putting the trailer together. They must have known that people would make that connection and think of Daleks. So a little bit of mischief there.
Yeah, well, even the X-ray guns.
Oh,
yes, exactly. Yeah,
Dalek-esque, aren't they? So it's funny that even that is similar.
I really like that effect, the way it vaporizes you. You sort of freeze in position.
Yeah.
And it vaporizes you and then the dust sort of just blows away. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
Cool. And I love their guns as well.
Yeah, the guns were really fun. The massive bulbs on them.
Yeah, very retro-futuristic. Sort of the Jetsons vibe I was getting.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love the design of Polish as well, if that's his name. Yeah,
see, that's taking it to the max, because you can tell that looks like a toaster from the 50s or like a small car from the 50s, but they've really pushed it all the way with that. And it's like, it's funny to see this little blue robot whizzing around. It's funny because the sets are all quite murky and the city looks quite murky, and even the undercity is very like, all the colours down there are just so muted and cloudy. But the robots themselves, like they're red and silver, these big shining red and silver things. But yeah, it's funny. It's just it's like a melting pot of all these like 50s and 60s influences to me. Yeah.
You were saying about the place being so dirty. I thought you were going to say that Polish has got a big job on his hands.
Yeah, like when he's down there, he's just kind of looking around like as if to say, well, where am I supposed to start?
Where do you start? Yeah. My favourite bit with him was when he was running after them into the little thing, and he's like waving his little duster hands like in panic.
Do you know what it reminded me of is Wallace and Gromit, you know, and that thing's like skiing down the hill.
Yes.
And the rocket takes off and he starts like waving after them, like, wait for me. That's what it reminded me of in Grand Day Out.
It reminded me of that character in WALL-E, you know, the one that polishes the floor and it's constantly like chasing the main characters.
Oh yeah,
because they're dropping mud all over the place. It reminded me of that. God.
Yeah, we love a funny robot.
Hottie of the week, hottie of the week, hottie of the week, hottie of the week. Let's find out who is hottie of the week.
I can't believe that we're 35 minutes in and we've not spoken about Manny yet as a set of three gay men.
I think it's like a forbidden topic. It's like if you open up that door, the floodgates have opened.
What? Oh God! Do you know what? I watched Doctor Who for the plot. I just want to say that now. I watched Doctor Who for the plot.
I watched Doctor Who for the stunning visuals, and he definitely gave us stunning visuals.
I mean, some of those shots, it feels like Russell T Davies was just writing fan fiction at some points, you know, especially the Manny, hold up the roof. Okay?
Yeah.
Just like arm for like 10 minutes.
The best. He needs to become a companion.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
That's funny.
No, he was, as a character, he was a bit one-dimensional, I thought. He just sort of walked on and just attacks Belinda, but I'm willing to forgive all of that.
Do you know what he reminded me of? And that whole vibe with the Undercity and the rebels and everything was very felt like a McCoy era, like 80s story. They had a lot of that sort of stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, a lot of people have drawn parallels to it in Paradise Towers.
The Kangs,
that's the one.
Yeah, especially because Pex is the guy in Paradise Towers who's like the only male character there that lives inside Paradise Towers, and he's like a tank top wearing sort of rebel figure. But yeah, he's kind of it's funny, Manny, like, I feel like we didn't really get to know enough about him, but maybe that was the whole point. He's just supposed to be a bit of eye candy that's just there to sort of make a point, isn't he?
Yeah.
But even like the AI generator monster, like the abstract sort of statue thing that was in the control room, that was very much like the monster in Paradise Towers. Have you seen it, Steve, in Paradise Towers by any chance?
I have, yeah.
So the monster at the base of Paradise Towers, I think it's called Cragnon or something, that's represented by like these abstract like neon lights and a hole and like a big booming voice.
Yes.
And that feels very similar to how they handled the AI generator monster in this, because it's very rare for modern Who to have that kind of a monster where it's like an idea rather than a creature that you're actually looking at. And then obviously once it opens up, it becomes a lot more like, okay, that's the brain, isn't it, behind this structure. But yeah, that felt very Paradise Towers to me as well, with all the neon lights and the Tesla coils with all the bolts of electricity. I mean, it looked amazing.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paradise Towers is definitely, the influences are coming through there to me.
And Russell loves the McCoy era. I think he cites that as his favourite era of classic Who. So it's no surprise he'd draw on that, I'd say.
Yeah.
And also, Paradise Towers has cleaner robots in it, and this did too.
Yes.
Although not murderous, massive ones, but still.
Yeah. So on the topic of the AI generator, obviously it's there to then set up the reveal of Al at the end, which I called about 10 seconds before. And
really?
I thought, oh, okay, it's Al, not AI. And then I thought, please don't be that, because it felt very Sue Tech.
Yeah.
Again, and it's like we've done this. But but the other thing is, I don't mind it being Al, because I liked the incel plot and that whole plot arc. But I swear in the promo for this episode, Russell was saying that the episode was going to explore AI and the problems of AI and this and that. And I feel like it didn't really do that at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless I missed it.
I also thought Al generator was a bit on the nose, because I didn't think that really made sense. Al
no, it doesn't.
Generator.
Yeah, it's funny. I think, Stephen, what you said about it, I don't think it really does address the issues with like modern AI, and because it wasn't really cutting enough like that. It was more about how it can go out of control, I think, and if it's not checked, it can get things wrong and things can malfunction and stuff. But like, in my head, if they'd gone back and if the AI generator somehow had like elements of Al in it, like if they'd used his brain patterns or something to program its AI, I'd sort of get that. But then when it was actually revealed to be him, my first thought was, oh my God. And then I was kind of like, okay, well, it's the imagery of it was all really cool, and the way that they'd shown him integrated into the machine was really impressive and stuff. So I was okay with it. But yeah, initially I thought maybe they've programmed it based off him because of the things he was saying, but then I didn't think he'd actually be in there. Do you know?
Yeah. But that was also quite 80s, wasn't it? Where the big thing opens up and then there's a person in there, like Davros or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I did think the reveal was quite clever when Al says, "Are you married?" And then Belinda says, "That's what he said." And it was like the penny drop moment. And I'll be honest, I didn't see it coming. And it's really cool to watch it, for the first time and be like, oh my God, it's her ex-boyfriend in that thing. And the sort of flashback scenes where he starts to integrate into it. And I did find the body horror element like grotesque, like really horrible to think about. And the design of him, how he's clearly just kept integrating more and more, and he's lopped off more parts, and he's less of his human form, to the point where I think at that point it's just sort of torso up, and then one of his arms is like one of the big robot arms.
Yeah.
And that he sort of become addicted to like upgrading himself. It's really scary.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, they could have, if Doctor Who was made for adults, they could have really pushed that further and shown that he had like metal plates on his skin or gore or anything like that. But they didn't really need to do that for this. But like the idea of what's happened to him is monstrous, isn't it? And I think they cleverly managed to avoid making it too scary, because they can't really do the full-on thing. But his arms being all different, and it's like, it feels a weird mix of organic and metal to me. But I thought it was really, really clever how they did it, really. And they went,
it was very effective.
They sort of pushed the horror of it as far as they could realistically.
The overarching thing for me is there's a lot of questions in this episode that are yet to be answered. And I think that this episode might make a lot more sense by the end. Especially, I think that Sasha, is her name Sasha 55?
Yeah.
I think she might be important later. I think obviously the certificate that's arrived in 2 places, and somebody's told the doctor to go and find Belinda, that she's important. A lot of questions I think will be answered at some point, hopefully. I mean, I was saying that this time last year.
Yeah.
We just kept playing the clown music. But
I feel like not knowing didn't detract from the episode. That's the main thing. So the questions that you get, the questions come up and it's like, okay, that's fine. We don't know that. That's okay.
It's satisfying in its own right.
It doesn't feel like you're just being strung along with loads of questions that you may or may not find out the answers to, like some earlier seasons, do you know? There are questions in it, but I think none of them detracted from the episode, really.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it.
That's what you need, a strong foundation, an episode that it can stand up in its own right, and then you've got these mysteries that you can look forward to as an addition to being answered later, hopefully. I mean,
the Mrs. Flood thing's interesting, isn't it? Because she was there, obviously, and she's clearly positioned herself so she's living next door to the Doctor's companions for whatever reason. But then when the Doctor appears, it's like she's surprised that he's there and she hides herself away.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't know how that happened really, because it's like she's aware that she's being seen by the audience somehow, and it's like, but she doesn't want the Doctor to be there because she seems like she needs to get out of the way when he appears. Do you know?
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued by it for sure.
Yeah, I'm still undecided, but if I had to choose a theory, I think I still am on the sort of God of Stories possible theory. But that would suggest that if she knows the story, then she would know the Doctor's about to come in at that moment, whereas she seems surprised, like you said. So. Yeah. But looks like she's going to be in it a lot this series, so we will find out.
She's also really funny. Like when Belinda's talking to her, she's like, I'm going to be abducted by these robots. She's like, bye-bye.
Take care, Belinda. Bye-bye.
She's just not listening to her, is she? She's just like, take care, bye. Like she's going.
I actually love that shot in that scene where Belinda's sort of between the 2 robots and she's almost getting squashed. In Unleashed, it sounded like that was kind of accidental, but they used it, and it's just so funny.
Because she kept getting knocked by the robot, and you're right, it didn't look sort of scripted. It looked like it was just happening, and they just kept it in. I also really like the direction of this episode, especially that scene that you just mentioned, where it's this pan along the garden fence, and it cuts between Belinda's point of view and then Mrs. Flood's point of view. I think it was so clever because that whole opening sequence was just riffing, so confident and quick, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Peter Hoare directed it, I think.
Right.
What about all the connections to Mundy?
Yeah, after the promise that they're not connected.
I know. Yeah, I felt like it was laboured a bit too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
They spent too much time talking about it.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, how relevant is it going to be? Because surely if Russell had created the character and ideas for storylines before even considering casting Varada, unless he's reworked it since then, majorly, because I was assuming it was going to be more like the Martha Adiola thing, just a quick reference and then move on. But I don't know, it feels like they're making more of a thing. Like the bit that I found really clunky was when she said, my shift starts on Monday, and Monday, and the Doctor was like, get over it.
Yeah, it's very overt, isn't it? It's very in your face.
Yeah, it sort of feels to me like it doesn't. If it wasn't an intention originally, then it shouldn't be dealt. It shouldn't keep on that topic, do you know? Because it feels like it's a bit artificial. Like I didn't particularly like a character in Boom, and so it's like it throws up more questions than it needs to. Like, why is there a war happening where someone that looks just like us fighting this war? And it was just a Boom was great in its own right, but I don't feel like it needs to affect this series.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
I want to find out about new things to do with Belinda, and maybe find out how she ends up how her relatives end up being there. But I don't feel like it needs to be the point of a significant amount of screen time. Do you know? Anymore.
Very Moffat again, isn't it? And I think we're doing a new Who watch at the moment with my sisters watching it for the first time, and we're on series 7, and it's all about Clara. Who is Clara? You were a Victorian nanny, and now you're in modern day, and it's like all of this that we're watching. And I'm worried it's going to be that again with Belinda. You know, you were in 3,000 years in the future and now you're here. And how is that possible? And you're a mystery wrapped in an enigma, blah, blah, blah.
Let's not go cut that quote short.
But yeah, it feels like history repeating a little bit. And I think if I had to choose, now that we're in the Russell era again, I would prefer the Martha, it was my cousin, she passed away in the Torchwood Tower and then never mentioned again, sort of tact. This is a new character moving forward. Yeah, as opposed to the Clara conundrum.
I think they've mentioned it now, and that's fine, but I don't think it needs to be dealt with anymore. I want to see how this Belinda deals with what happens to her now. Do you know, and how she develops as a character from there? I didn't understand, what was the thing with the doctor holding that baby? And he was like, I've been through your timeline like a bullet. That's a big question, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
That felt like a reverse Clara as well, where it's the doctor, he's inserted himself into Belinda's timeline a little bit, but we don't know how much by at the moment because there's just one shot of him holding her as a baby, I think.
Yeah.
So,
and she might have issues with that as well. If it dawns on
definitely.
her, if it's dawned on her what's happened, she won't be happy about that. Do you know? So it's interesting. Yeah.
I want to say, you know, let's watch the series and sit and wait for it to be answered. But based on last year, I'm sort of not holding my breath on that.
We'll come up with a load of amazing theories and it'll all come down to a sign on a lamppost.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Well, we'll see. I've got a faith.
We will see.
Because I already felt really positive about this series already. And like I said, I wasn't that excited for this one, but it was great. I really enjoyed it. And the themes of it and the visuals of it were all right up my street. So, and I was more excited for the next one. And now having met Belinda, I'm even more excited for the next one now. So it's like, I'm really happy that I'm fully invested in it, where I wasn't at this time after Space Babies. Although, obviously the Maestro one was a step in the right direction, a big step in the right direction, but still.
I think that's why at the time Space Babies went down but better than it does now, because it was released as a bundle with The Devil's Cord, I think. But there's a lot of dogpiling for season 1 at the moment on Twitter. But I think there was a lot. There was so much to enjoy in season 1, but sometimes people do just take away the negative stuff. And I've made comments, but like I am so excited for season 2, and I did love the majority of season 1 as well.
It got a lot right, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There just needs to be a bit more positivity with things sometimes, and we're all like-minded. We're all ready to go on the journey, and there'll be bits we like and bits we don't like, but it's just part of the fun of it, isn't it?
I think the unfortunate thing is just because the ending was quite disappointing for a lot of people, and that's kind of all they take away from it. All they remember is the
bookend.
Yeah.
But it's been a really strong start to this season.
Oh yeah,
which is heading in the right direction.
Definitely. A couple of other tiny things that I wanted to point out. Another instance of the Doctor kind of taking a liberty and not respecting Belinda in certain ways is that he starts calling her Belle. He starts shortening her name, like, just without even her saying that or anything. And that just seemed a little bit arrogant. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit premature, isn't it? Like you do that when you become friends with someone, but it's a bit early for that. Do you know?
Yeah. And I just had to comment on the Yas Queen and the massive kick.
Oh my God. I do love the Flair's shooty ads. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it's hilarious and brilliant. But I just imagine certain fans who are less comfortable with that direction that the show's going in and almost think, oh, was that just put in just to piss them off? Like, probably.
Yeah, I thought it's great.
It's beautiful.
There was a really great interview of Shooty recently where they said, what is your catchphrase? And he was going through like all these different potentials, but then in the end he just landed on, it's probably babes. And I thought, you know what, that sums up, his daughter is great. Be proud of that catchphrase. I would say it's babes, definitely.
I love it. It's funny because Ben says babes all the time and he says it kind of ironically. Like he'll say it to characters in the episodes that we're watching and be like, it's just very funny.
It's funny. I think the Bells thing, that's like showing that he's a bit too on autopilot with her and he's ready for an adventure with her. And I love that she says, I'm not one of your adventures, because she's her own person and she doesn't want to just fit into whatever the life this is that she sees coming up 100 miles an hour. But I think it's just showing the Doctor's like, he's already decided that she's his next companion, do you know, and she doesn't want that. And she explicitly says that she doesn't want that. So the stuff with the TARDIS towards the end, you know, and it's like malfunctioning. So I've watched the Daleks so many times, the original story, but I just think of how in that one, they all want to go home and Hartnell doesn't want to. He wants to go to see the Dalek City. So he pretends the TARDIS is malfunctioning. And I just think of that. Like, I'm sure that's not what's happening, but the way that it's played and the music makes me think, is this just the Doctor messing around, with her? But then the TARDIS doesn't sound very healthy either. So maybe it is legit,
I love that. I love that idea because she definitely thinks that that's what he's doing. She's like, no, just get me home. And he's almost like, I'm trying. But she doesn't believe him. But what, another big question then is, why can't they get home? Is it whatever the reality war is that's going to be in the finale, I'm imagining, is what's stopping it?
Because they went to where Earth would be. I'm guessing that's what happened. When they go to, Belinda says we're in space, I'm guessing the Earth's supposed to be there. And it's obviously been destroyed or whatever, because when they leave, all those fragments kind of fly onto camera. Yes. So I'm guessing that they're where Earth would be had it not been destroyed. So it's like, that's a massive implication, isn't it, for later in the series? But again, it wasn't explicitly said in dialogue. So, yeah. And
how handy it was that a calendar floats with the exact date circled that is all going to kick off.
But the thing is, that does seem quite on the nose and all that. But then, if there is something about stories and narratives and the Doctor being part of a narrative, it all kind of makes sense that, okay, it's going to be something a bit cheesy because it's, it's part of it.
Yeah.
Again, I'm probably way off, but that's my little pet theory that I just would love to see developed. But
and it looks like Earth's been destroyed, doesn't it? Because it's just...
It's like the Eiffel Tower and all these bits that are from completely different areas of the planet all together.
And that's it. They're also such iconic images. The Eiffel Tower, the London taxi, the Statue of Liberty. It's like it was cherry picked specifically to be like, look at these major things on Earth.
Yeah.
So what was your theory? That it's the god of stories?
Well, I know I hate saying it now because it sounds so cheesy and lots of people hate the idea, but like the idea that the Doctor is actually in a TV show and realizes that through some metaphysical way. And it's not to say that would ruin the show, and how could he go forward from there, because there are ways around that.
Yeah.
Or even if it's, my other idea was that it was him and his companion fall through into some alternate reality.
Yeah.
Which is actually our universe where the Doctor is on a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very similar to, so I got into the League of Gentlemen last year, which I'd never seen before. Quite funny. Hasn't aged particularly well, but anyway. They did a movie that I watched after I finished the series, and that basically does that same thing, where it goes into the real world and then characters from the sketch universe kind of come through into the real world, and they get to meet like the actors who play them and stuff like that. And it's really bizarre. And I just thought doing that with Doctor Who, like, it'd probably come across like a parody if it wasn't done well. But, you could have the 15th Doctor meeting Russell T Davies or meeting Ncuti Gatwa. Or they'll be like, oh no, the reason they can't get home is because the actress who plays you in this reality has been signed on for a series. That's why you can't get home.
Yeah.
Because you've got to stay on the TARDIS for that long. Like, do you know what I mean?
Something really meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it all started, if you watch In the Forest of the Night, behind them, you can see a bus advertising the new series of Doctor Who. So you can trace it back all the way to
there you go.
Series 8.
Yeah. Or even in Remembrance of the Daleks, when Ace turns the TV on and it's like, brand new science fiction series about to start. Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think of that one.
I mean, like theories are going to go crazy, aren't they? Because we don't have any like imagery or any clips from those episodes yet. So all we have is the title. And obviously, like with the way things are going at the minute with Mrs. Flood and everything, it is leaning more into that fantasy realm.
Yes.
So it could really be anything. But I mean, I don't mind. I've got quite an open mind with it, really. It's just... I would like to know more about like monsters that are involved and things. That's what gets me excited about it. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the rest of the series for sure. Yeah. But it does feel like I think the next few are going to be more like adventure of the week until we get into it later on in the series. I think then there'll be more to do with the overarching theme.
But yeah, very strong start. Very, very strong start. And I'm ready for more. Yeah,
it's going to be a long wait for the next episode now for me.
It is. It feels unfair that we have to wait a week.
Yeah.
To see the next one.
Yeah.
It's nice to be so excited about it again, though. I mean, I did love that last episode. really.
Oh, can I say one thing about Unleashed? It was so funny when they had all the banners like spoilers. We've got a clip for next week's episode, and then it's just them opening a door.
Wow.
Whoa.
Top secret.
Yeah. I guess it makes
Got
you
the
wonder.
scoop here first.
Yeah. Thanks, Stefan.
Yeah.
They're very hesitant to show anything about that episode at all, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I think that's a good sign, isn't it? They want to keep it under wraps.
Which is fair enough. Yeah.
Looks good.
I had one more thing to mention. I really liked the sort of 2001 A Space Odyssey scene, you know, when they break the connection with Al.
Yeah.
I thought that was such an interesting sequence, all the colours.
That was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people were saying about how that is quite evocative of like the psychedelic scene when Omega and the third Doctor fight in the Three Doctors.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? There's that sequence where it takes place in Omega, the dark side of Omega's mind. Have you seen it, Stephen? The Three Doctors?
I have,
guessing you have. Yeah. And so people are saying that it's got a lot of similarities with that. I don't think it goes that far, but I can see that it's kind of the similar thing where it's like a psychedelic look into the mind of all the characters that are like gelling together in that moment, and they all split apart. I liked it, but it makes my eyes feel funny. But
what it reminded me of was the boat ride in Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of references to Willy Wonka because he sung in Rogue. He sings a Willy Wonka song, doesn't he?
Pure Imagination.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh. When does he sing that?
When he's like wandering towards the TARDIS with Rogue, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And it's quite sort of separate. It just does it for a few seconds and then it stops. But yeah.
So, if you're going to rate this episode out of 5, what are we going to give it?
I'll go in there with 4 out of 5.
Squibbly dibbly.
For me,
4 out of 5.
I think a comfort episode. I can put it on whenever, and it's just I can show it to anyone. It's exciting, and
I'd probably give it 4.5 out of 5.
Squibbly dibbly.
Because I thought it was really good. And
Good.
I really enjoyed it.
what would you give it?
I think I'll say a 4 as well.
Squibbly dibbly.
It's better than average,
Yeah.
but not the most mind-blowing episode ever. But yeah, so we're all sort of roughly in that same area. What on our rating system we call squiddly diddly, which is 4 out of 5. So,
Are you going to insert the sound clip? Please tell me.
I
you
will. Yes, I will. Yeah. So I was going to ask you as well, just quick fire. What is your favourite thing about the episode and your least favourite thing about the episode?
Oh, that's a good question.
Favorite thing about the episode for me is like the world and its setting and what it did for Belinda, where it put her through all these different character moments, and it really showed us that this is what she's like in an alien sort of science fiction-y world. And I loved all the robot stuff, obviously, and that kind of thing. Does that answer the question? That's
what's
kind of
your least
things.
favourite?
Least favourite thing, probably maybe some of the pacing. Some of the moments felt quite slow, and then some of it were really frenetic and crazy. But yeah, it wasn't enough to spoil the episode for me.
I loved the madness of it all and how like quick the pacing is in terms of the journey you go on the adventure. And I loved it as a character piece for Belinda. My least favourite sort of part was the sort of character of the Doctor and the way he behaved in the episode. Like I said before, I found him a little bit unsettling at the end when he's in the TARDIS, and he was seeming a bit like manipulative and assuming, and I didn't like that, and I felt a little bit worried for Belinda in that situation. But I am interested to see where that goes, especially because she's the resistant companion. She's like the Tegan, isn't she? She just wants to go home. So relatable, yeah. What's your favourite and least favourite parts?
Oh gosh, asking the question now means I have to answer it myself. I think, Belinda, her character and her dynamic was my favourite thing. And least favourite thing, probably similar to you, Ethan, the pacing and some of the timey-wimey stuff just I found a little bit confusing. And I think sometimes there's too much emphasis on plot and not enough on character. I've heard it said, and I think it's so true, that simple plots with complex characters are much better than complex plots with simple characters. So I think sometimes not that it needs dumbing down, but I just think sometimes it doesn't need to be quite so whizzing around and complicated.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see more character pieces and things that are maybe a little bit slower, but it gives you more time to think about what's happening. Whereas this was a bit crazy, on occasions, and then it was super slow at other bits. Do you know?
Yeah, but it was excellent.
Yeah, 100%. Loved it.
Yeah. Just a few quick comments from listeners. I asked what people thought of this episode. Zachariah says, RTD's not great at openers, in my opinion, but this was absolutely fantastic. Loved how timey-wimey it was. So fun. Dominic says 7 out of 10, not enough Manny. I would agree.
Yeah, all the gays would agree.
Definitely.
I don't think he got enough to do. Like, sure, he looks nice, but I feel like he didn't get enough to do.
I think he could have abseiled down a few more times.
Yeah. Well, no, he doesn't have to do anything. He just has to be on screen more. Lucy says, I loved it and I loved Belinda, but honestly need a break from the mystery girl companions.
Yeah, I agree.
We were saying that, weren't we?
Yeah.
I think if it doesn't veer that direction, it's okay. But it obviously could well go that way.
It definitely feels like it has that potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Hoover Nerd Archive says, Alan's robotic form reminded me a lot of the Borg from Star Trek, as a Trekkie myself, and I loved how horrific and painful it looked. It also reminded me of the Cybermen a tad.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I don't know anything about Star Trek, but...
he does look rather Borg-esque. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's a man covered in metal. So
yeah. True. And finally, Matt says, I'm not sure I'm on board with how gleeful the Doctor is about some of the deaths, but this has always been an aspect of his character. I think Tooth and Claw and the Queen Victoria telling him off. So it's perhaps telling that it was on display in this episode.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's a part of the Doctor's character, isn't it? And sometimes he needs to be brought up on it. Yeah,
grounded a bit again. That's the sort of role of the companion, isn't it? To just bring him down a tad and say, you shouldn't laugh at that. You shouldn't dance around this guy who's been reduced to a bit of sperm.
Unlike Rose at that time was very just go along with it, and she was loving it as well and having a good old laugh about it all.
Yeah.
It's nice to have someone, this time it's the companion who's instead of Queen Victoria.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there we have it, the Robot Revolution. We've kicked off this series with an excellent start.
Yeah.
Very excited for the rest of the episodes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you for having us. It's been great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
So you two, you have your Fast Return podcast. Are you cooking up some episodes for us over there?
Oh, yeah. We were on a bit of a rest, weren't we?
Yeah, we did have a little break.
But I think we are feeling inspired again to start talking about this series. And so we'll look forward to that. Yeah.
So I'll put links for all that stuff in the show notes. So check it out if you haven't already.
Thank you.
But yeah, until next time, listeners, stay cool, stay safe.
Stay fantastic.